So welcome to this particular session where we'll be learning about a few things, web basics, and just the overview of what a website is, what a web page is, then how to come up with one as we learn quite a number of things. Fast forward, we look at what a website is and also the difference between a web page and a website, because in as far as they are quite related, but they are two different things. A web page is generally a document on the internet that can be viewed using a browser, and web pages, they are written in a special language known as hypertext markup language. Hypertext to mean if I click on that particular text, it will result to something else. Let's say a link. If I click on a link, it results to maybe displaying something else, either a pop-up or redirecting me to a different location on the website. A web page can contain images, videos, and links to other web pages. Now, a website would be a combination or a collection of web pages, and the web pages are in a way related. So if you're having a website, you would say it's a collection of just the web pages that have related content. And all the web pages are stored on a server, so that we say our website is hosted on a server. And a server is just a storage location which can allow hosting of a website. Basically, websites revolve around a certain topic. We might not go so much into the details. For this course, we're just going to see how to design, come up with one, and maybe later on we'll look at how really the website works. One of the tools that you can use to design a website is HTML, which is commonly referred to as hypertext markup language. And HTML defines the structure of a web page. You can imagine having a piece of paper to draw. So HTML would be like your pencil or something that you can use to draw on that piece of paper. And you define the structure, how you want the elements to be arranged or to be structured in a way that is perhaps sensible to whoever is designing the web page. HTML has special commands known as tags. So those tags inform the browser what to do. So you design your content using HTML, and now the browser will be able to interpret that and actually display that to the user. We also have another language that is known as CSS, cascading style sheets. Cascading style sheets, it adds some beautiful view to your website. You can use CSS to define colors, the font types, how the images are arranged, whether they should have corners around them, whether they should have some shadows and all that. So basically, it's you use CSS to define HTML content in whatever way that you wish, depending on how creative you are. A website would look very ugly without CSS being added into it, and that's why it's very critical for you to learn CSS as well. You also have another language known as JavaScript. JavaScript is supported by very many browsers, and it's critical to have JavaScript in your website in this manner. You would want, as the user interacts with the website, they're able to perform certain functions, they're able to maybe complete some of the various things they would wish to do on a website. For example, you can imagine a HTML form where the user is prompted to input the information, and you would want, if the user hasn't maybe has missed out on a certain input, let's say their name, maybe they've just input their phone number and email, but they've forgotten their name. We would want a way to remind the user that, hey, you need to submit your name as well. So you can use JavaScript to do that. We look into details when we get to JavaScript. We also have another interesting language known as PHP. In full is hypertext preprocessor. PHP helps us to communicate with the server. And by doing that, we can also be able to display content in a dynamic way so that the web page changes the contents that it has depending on the conditions that have been specified. You could imagine of a blog where the layout is the same, everything is the same, but the content keeps on changing from time to time. So that is how we can use PHP. The good thing with PHP is that you can embed it in HTML, meaning you don't have to have different code for HTML and PHP. You can just write your HTML tags and now embed PHP in it. Don't worry about these terms if you're getting to hear them for the first time. We'll look into that as time goes by. We also have another powerful language known as SQL or SQL, depending on how you prefer it. In full, it's structured query language. SQL helps us to store data, manipulate it, and also retrieve it as well from the databases. The common type of database that is there currently is relational databases. Relational to mean there's a way in which the information stored within the database is related. Don't worry again about these things. We'll look into them when we get to that point. Perhaps someone be wondering how you can learn all these languages all at once. And the easiest way to go about it is to do real world projects or come up with something that can help you practice these languages one by one. You might not learn all the languages all at once, but through real world projects, you are able to do quite a number of things and achieve quite a number of them. So for this particular project or study, we are going to look at an online Bible study registration system and actually come up with it. So it will guide us. It's just a simple registration system that will guide us to have a feel of each and every of those languages that I've mentioned. We'll be doing that as a group so that the online Bible study system allows different people to register for Bible study based on their preferred locations. You'll input your name and other details, then you specify your location, then that data is stored in the database. After you perform your registration, you're able to get an SMS notification after submitting all your details. You'll also receive an email notification depending on your preference. Lastly, we'll be able to collaborate using GitHub. GitHub is a collaboration platform. If perhaps you haven't heard of it before, we'll look into that and how you can manage your code. It's controlled by a version control system known as Git, which enables us to keep track of our code history. There are many other things to learn as we go by this project, but remember, I'm just sticking to the basics so that at least everyone is onboarded. Then once we are very comfortable with quite a number of things, we'll be able to look at very many other concepts about web design. Other things that you learn will be integration of bulk SMSs, APIs into online systems, like the one we'll be using to send notifications after the user has registered. SMTP is one of the mail transfer protocols, which is worldwide used for various projects. You can, as we go by, we look into how to integrate that into our online systems. Then, because we are learning about Git and GitHub, the installation and the configuration of Git, because it's just a process on its own, we'll look at how to do that. Then collaborate using GitHub so that you don't have to rewrite your code each and every time. You can just see what others are doing, then pull that code into your machine and you're able to proceed. Database design and structuring is one of the most important skills that you can learn as a web designer or developer so that you're able to come up with a database that is fast enough, that doesn't have so much of lagging. Then you look at how to structure it very well, especially for relational databases, which we'll be learning in this project. Another thing that is very critical for you to know is security, the code security practices, because you don't just want to write code, you want to write code that is secure, that is not prone to attacks and vulnerabilities. Remember the rise of cybersecurity attacks. So things like SQL injection and very many other attacks. We learn how to, just the basics of how to protect our information. Then lastly, because this is a collaboration sort of project, we'll see how to collaborate using some of the tools and supporting one another remotely. One of the most common tools that I use is AnyDesk, so that I'm able to access someone's computer from where I am and help them. Or if a friend of yours is lagging behind, you can just AnyDesk them, and you're able to help them. TeamViewer works well as AnyDesk, depending on your preference, but just for a common approach, you can use AnyDesk because it's very simple. So I hope as we interact with one another, we'll be able to learn from each other. Where you feel you're stuck, ask questions, and I'll be able to support you where possible. Remember, I don't have all the knowledge, and sometimes perhaps I might miss out on something, but you are also allowed to come in and, this is a collaboration platform, and give your input or even a better way to approach things. So I hope to see you in the subsequent um, learning lessons, and cheers. So let's do this, and hope to see you.